Hey guys, today is day 9. That means we are reading Matthew chapter 9. Now, this is a long chapter. Sorry you have to read a long chapter, but there's a lot in here, but it can be summed up pretty much together. There's lots of healings, and those kind of go together. And then there's some teaching, and those can go together. But when we open up, we see that Jesus heals a paralytic, and we see that this is a story that we see in Mark, where the friends lowered him through the roof. But notice it was by their faith that they were saved, right? Remember chapter 8 was that his words spoke salvation, right? His words were speaking the miracles, right? So his words were like he was like God. Now in chapter 9, we're going to see salvation being different than it ever has been before. And we see this. It says that his salvation was by their faith. It was by the faith of their friends that brought him, that they believed he could do something, and that's why he was saved. And we go right into the calling of Matthew, the fifth disciple that gets called into Matthew, and he simply goes up to him and says, "Follow me." Now, for us, that's weird. We think about, why would somebody leave their job? He didn't really know much about Jesus, but we got to remember that he's a tax collector. He's one of the most hated men. He had no friends. His only friends were other tax collectors, other sinners, other people that the whole community hated. And so a guy that comes and says, "Hey, I like you for you. Come and follow me." This was crazy. This is something that would have never happened, right? And so Jesus says, "Come and follow me." But notice he follows him. And in the very next verse, we see that Jesus took this moment of being not only around Matthew, but also around his friends. He was surrounded by other tax collectors and sinners that came in. And the religious elite said, "How dare he be around these sinners?" And we see that we see this idea, we see this famous kind of phrase that says, "Those who are well have no need of a physician, but those who are sick," right? And so this idea we see later in Paul's writing, Romans 5:8, "While we were still sinners, Christ died for us," right? Jesus did not come for the religious elites. Jesus did not come for the holy or those who think they're holy. But he came for those who need holiness, and those who would accept his holiness. And so we see this idea of Jesus saves and calls Matthew, and then even goes beyond in his friend groups, right? Around the people that he was, those sinners and those people. We even see a quote here. Jesus quotes out of an Old Testament minor prophet, Hosea chapter 6:6. Hosea chapter 6, verse 6, and he says, "I desire mercy, not sacrifice." Now, to us, that seems weird, but we have to remember that's an Old Testament quote. In Hosea's day, it was very much in the Jewish things of religion, right? They were bringing the sacrifice, that they were doing the religious things to befriend God, but it was not here. Right? And so he's quoting a Old Testament prophecy to these Pharisees, and he says, I don't care about your righteous works. I don't care about what you think is holy. What do I want? I want mercy. I want a heart full of mercy over a bunch of religious acts, right? That's what Jesus wants. And they go in, and there's even more questioning about this. And now they raise up another religious act, another kind of Old Testament thought, an Old Covenant thought. And he says, "How come your disciples don't fast like the Pharisees?" The Pharisees would do all these religious works and fast and make sure everybody knew that they were fasting. And he said, "What do they have to fast for? They're here with me. I'm the best of the best," right? That we have everything. They have everything. But he says there will be a time where I will be taken away. There will be a time when he goes to the cross and he dies and he leaves them as he goes to heaven, and they will fast. But right now, we don't need to do this. And then we get another famous verse, and it says that they do not put new wine in old wineskins. They do not put a new cloth on old clothes as a patch, because when it shrinks, it's going to tear, right? That new wine, as it ferments, it's going to expand in an old wineskin. It would explode and make it worse. What Jesus was saying is the old way of religion cannot contain Jesus's new way of salvation. In Bible terms, in kind of this idea, he's saying the old covenant, the old practice cannot contain the new covenant. Jesus came not to add to and to make more religious acts, but he came to change the heart. It was all about the mercy, not the religious acts. And so even though it's separate little sections in our reading, it all goes together in this idea that there's the old way and there's the new way, right? And the old way was never meant to be the right way. The old way, the Old Testament, the Old Covenant was always pointing toward there has to be a new way. There has to be a better way. And that was Jesus. And we see through the rest of chapter 9, we see that Jesus does some more miracles, and he continues on to do miracles for actually several months. He's going through and he's doing these miracles. And notice when he says this, it's always your faith. The woman reaches out and touches her cloak. It was by her faith. The girl who was dead and Jesus brings back, it was by her father's faith. The two blind men that came and they cried out, "The Son of David." This is a messianic title. They have faith that Jesus is the Messiah. And he says, "Do you believe I'm the Messiah?" And he says, "Yes." And Jesus tells him, "By your faith." We see the demon-oppressed man, right? And so we still see power over the demons and over Satan. And we finish with a verse that a lot of Christians like to use and to quote, and it's true, but it goes on and says, "The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few," right? Jesus is saying that in this new era, in this new covenant, in this new salvation, in this new wineskin, the harvest is plentiful, but there's not enough laborers. But what's interesting is what he says, what are we to do, right? We're to pray to the God of the harvest. God has come, sent his son to save all people. And we are to pray to him that he would send laborers, that he would send us out, and he would send even more. How does God send more laborers? It's through us evangelizing, discipling, converting, changing their life, that they would become laborers, and they would do so, right? So it's not just in prayer that, oh man, I hope somebody reaches that person. It's in us praying and moving out and multiplying those people. It's all about our faith, not our religious works. It's our faith that will change us and will change the plentiful harvest. Guys, hope you're enjoying this. We're going to see you on day 10. God bless.